So I'll take my butt kicking in the market this week.
Is that what today is for you, Mike?
Drink this evening.
Today is.
No, that's this week.
Oh, the whole week. The whole week. Oh well, that's no.
Yeah,
good.
It's been a butt kicker all week.
Wow, well, that's not good. For all those joining us on YouTube, good afternoon. It's Peter on the camera. We've got Mike and Brian as usual. It's the afternoon party. Welcome to. Oh, Brian, what did you call it yesterday? Was it this morning? What did you use the term? You called it some sort of like a closed fiesta or I can't remember what you said now.
Oh.
You called it something.
You talking to me?
Yeah. Yeah, you're the only Mike.
Drink this evening.
Well, I'm just trying to remember what.
I don't remember. I love the term. Whatever.
What I said.
A crescendo party. There you go. That was it. Thank you, Art.
Crescendo.
One of our members would remember.
Yeah, somebody's paying attention.
Yep. The crescendo party. I should have put some music together for a crescendo party. Feels like that deserves a song. Little limited.
Well, Citibank selling off nicely.
See Citibank. Yeah, Citibank dropping here. I'm a little limited in my resources, Art. Until I get that new computer up and online, I can't, unfortunately, put too many services on my computer. The video, for some reason, I never realized video streaming takes so much compute power. It's really
There's your sell-off on AMD that you were looking for, Peter.
Let's take a peek back at AMD here.
What a disappointment.
Yeah.
It's always about timing, isn't it?
Yeah.
BAC selling off. The market's just selling off here.
Yeah, I took a short earlier on AMD, and I got a quick little partial, and then stopped out, and then nothing. I missed this. Fun. It was hard to get there, though. If I look, like the entry would have been tough because there was it just kept bouncing up and down and up and down. So yeah, it's selling off now, but I'm not sure I would have been able to time that to actually catch it. Maybe if I just kept persevering every time it dropped below the 50 moving average, I guess I could have taken it short. I would have had I would have had 3 stop outs, 3 partials and a stop out, 1 loser, and then this one that would have worked. So maybe I need to be more persistent. This is a random statement. I had somebody who was on a conference call, a Zoom video meeting, as we seem to do all the time nowadays. And they said, my daughter was doing whatever. She was being a scallywag. And I said, oh my goodness. And she's also from the 1800s. And they got really upset by that and said, what are you talking about? That's like a modern term. Everybody uses it. And I'm like, I don't know. Like maybe I should make a poll out of that. Do people use the term scallywag? It feels very archaic.
Scallywag does.
I haven't heard that.
Only pirates.
Back to something it sounds like something my parents would say.
Only you scurvy dog, you little scallywag.
Yeah. Scallywag. I think that was something here from in the 50s or the 60s.
Yeah. Actually, funny, David. That's the term I came back with. I said that I asked her if her daughter was also a rapscallion, and then she gave me a blank look. I'm like, well, if you're going to use scallywag, you got to have rapscallion in the conversation too, don't you? Anyways, apparently not. The English language. When you're a brave man, I only use it when referring to my wife, unless that's sexy talk, in which that may be too much information.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say.
Yeah. Come here, you little scallywag. I can't see using that in any type of romantic context myself, but
No,
I guess we all live different
that's why
lives.
it doesn't really is challenging. Doesn't work.
Ah, AMD.
All right. Well, anyway, let's. I'm trying to figure out what's going on here with the market, but I don't trust any moves right now. It's
Well, it's hard to trust. I mean, the market seems to be weak here coming into this last half hour, but we've seen it so consistently like to pop up at some point between now and the close, right? Usually in the last 30 minutes. It doesn't always hold it, but it does this, big shoot up at some point. So I would be
yeah.
careful if you're playing a short.
Still looking to see what's still
Varlet.
green and what's Roku is staying strong. I suspect we'll have another nice day with Roku tomorrow. Um,
Rao
it's
from.
funny. I've got six.
Oh, okay.
I was just going to say I've got six on the screen here. That's the Six Flags. It's actually up on the day for some reason. Maybe they're sparking up that roller coaster again.
Yeah, it is up a little bit.
But it's low 14. It was a low today, 1426. Seems to be holding sort of a 14 level here.
Art is the extreme scanner should be in our scanners page. Are you not seeing it, or is it misbehaving? Oh, T-Bone is saying that Six raised some bonds today, so increased liquidity.
Ah, okay. That so they'll live to fight another day, as they say.
Yeah. Friends on YouTube, Rao was suggesting I should use the term varlet. That would go, I think. Yeah, that fits in that same.
Vartlet, I think, isn't that from the King Arthur days? Or Bugs Bunny, one of the two.
Well, only if you run into a harlot, which is a whole different thing. With
Or
Harlot.
a Vartlet.
A varlet and a harlot.
Yeah.
Anyway, it's very different. Gordon on YouTube, you're asking why I was looking at AMD to go lower. Let me just quickly cover that. I actually took the original my short right in here at 250 because I was looking. I like the double top pattern, so it basically made a double top. You can see here at 225 and then at 238 and it topped. And then the moving average cross came in. It pulled up the 50 moving average, which is the red line on my chart, crossing over the 9 and 20. So I was looking for a short and a pull back to, ideally, I like it when they pull all the way back to VWAP. I only got a couple of cents here. I took a quick partial, and then you can see it came back up and stopped me out. But then it just bounced in this range. So, you could have potentially taken a short every time it crossed back below the 50 moving average. But to me, that would have been a little tricky to be able to catch this move. But anyways, this first one I liked because it had the setup. It just didn't work out. But that's what I was seeing. That's why I was looking at it. All right, back to Six Flags, which is still pushing up. Not, well, what's the volume here? Well, slightly above average volume, but most of it seems to have come in after about 215, presumably when they announced their bond offering. Because before that, the volume looks relatively low, except for the open. So the 50, that's a good question. I'm pretty sure it's an SMA, a simple moving average. Let me just confirm. Yes, it's a simple moving average on the 50 is what I use. Everything above 50 and above 50, 100, 200 are all simple moving averages. The 9 and the 20 are EMAs, exponential moving averages. But there's no right or wrong.
So that's.
Go ahead, Mike.
Sorry about that, Peter. Go ahead.
I was just going to say there's no right or wrong on that because, there's so many ways to configure these. Even when you look at, let me just open the screen so you guys can see it. Even if you look at this and you go to the config, right? What source do you use? Are you using like the open or, the high, the low, the close, some combination? I basically use all of the data. I figure it gives me a smoother moving average, but so many people are going to be looking at it a different way. You always have to assume a moving average is just it's in the general area. The when EMA and SMAs become significant, they differ much more significantly when you have rapid price movement, so when the price shoots up or down, which is why I make the 9 and the 20 the short-term moving averages EMAs, because they're going to more closely follow the price action, whereas I smooth out the longer term because it doesn't weight the more recent stuff more heavily, which is what an exponential does. So in any event, that's my logic, but it doesn't mean it's right. It's also what Andrew taught me to do years ago, and I just haven't deviated from it.
So, sorry about that, Peter. I just realized that I was in a Citibank trade, and my live account that I wasn't quite
on purpose, or
assuming to be in. Well, I got in on purpose, but I had thought I switched my order template over to trading, and then I've been messing around to relieve some of that frustration that I've had for the 3 days. And I couldn't get out of the Citi position. I'm like, why can't I get out of it? So I closed out of my platform, reloaded, and then realized that my live account, I was positive for the day, and went, uh-oh.
Well, that's good then. You like it when a mistake works in your favor.
So it's good.
Exactly.
Yeah. This is the one time that I need that mistake to work.
Yeah.
Banker's error in your favor.
It's funny.
It was a good setup.
Brian, I was thinking that exact same thing. I was just about to say that. Old folks quote Monopoly.
Great minds.
Great minds.
Great minds thinking alike.
Yeah, great minds and stopped clocks.
So it was a good setup. Valid. It wasn't just a complete. I just had decided that I did not want to trade live anymore. Maybe that's what made it actually work.
Yeah. Good thing you didn't do. You say, "Oh heck, it's my sim account. Why don't I just take 5,000 shares? What the heck?"
Oh yeah.
But, I guess in this case it would have been good if you had, but.
Yeah. But more times than not, it goes the other way.
Mac is trying to get my attention.
So now I'll just sit here and manage this into the close.
So,
Yes, Mac. It is.
BEBY. Go ahead. Sorry, Peter.
Mac was asking if a lightning bolt is setting up on Netflix. It's a good example. We're into it right now. We've missed the entry. The entry would have been at the 341 candle. Now, like I said, the only caution I would have is if you look at my rule set says in the last hour of the day, you got to be really cautious getting into these because they may not have time to set up and the markets get more erratic. So I probably wouldn't have taken it just based on the time of day. But from a pattern perspective, it absolutely set up, right? Pulled through VWAP, that's your first touch, back up across it at 337, that's your second. When it came through with the nice big candle on the way down, with above average volume, then you would have taken it at the open of the following candle, as I said, at 341. And then, your stop would have been, 341 time-wise. Your stop would have had to have been 25. Wow, like a $2 stop. So you're taking a big, so it means you need $4 to the downside from here. So yeah, that's that seems like a big ask on it, but we'll see if it actually works out. I don't like the fact that it's pulling back the VWAP here, but that was the setup anyways. Mike, there is a video. We're working on that. I mean, it's that we had some issues with the sound, which means that it took a little longer to do the processing. I know Eamon has been working hard on it today. He's managed to combine a couple of different feeds to get it. If you don't mind a raw, sort of just the charts and the voiceover without it being sort of cleaned up properly. I did put one together that I was sharing while people were waiting. Let me just get the link. Here you go. Here's the link. You can take a look at that. But we'll have the proper video posted into our success webinars, hopefully very soon, because it's been a week since I've done it now. So, but it feels just like yesterday. No one's sharing video with me today. You guys can rock, paper, scissors. I'm thinking of a number between 1 and 10.
8.
Oh, shoot. Look at this.
Brian, what's your number?
3.
No, it was 6. Mike, you're closest.
Ah.
Does that mean
All
you
right.
win? Does that mean you win or lose? I didn't really specify that. And is winning or losing on the camera or not? Anyways, you're on the camera. You got close.
I'll hop on. It's all
There
right.
you go. Jason,
Because Brian's going to have his mass for tomorrow.
oh,
Yeah,
that's
exactly. I
right.
gotta give him-
That's right. All right, we'll let him save up for that special moment.
No.
For the special moment. Now, I should be able to wear it with my headphones too.
Yeah.
Oh, look at Spy is now finding some
Well, what did I say, right? Like,
legs.
it always seems to bounce at some point in this last half hour. So here it is, which means if you're taking that short, oh,
Sorry.
that would be Mike.
I was going to say, is that the train pulling away from the station on the Spy here?
That was the feedback from Mike's Mike. Oh, that's great.
Mike's Mike.
Jason, to your question, you wouldn't see my camera. We can only share one camera actively in the room at this point, so my camera actually goes directly to YouTube. I just paste it over top of the YouTube video. So, hello to everybody in YouTube, but people in the room can't see me. But you know what I look like. But
Sorry
if you really
about
want
that,
to, you can just call up the YouTube feed, and you can see me. I'd hate for you to be deprived of this beauty. So,
Hate not to be able to see Pita.
yeah. I was in a Zoom video conference today, and I didn't realize you can put like ridiculous. Well, you can put backgrounds in there. They are able to green screen you. It's one of the non-business features, I would argue. So I was playing with different backgrounds, and it really just distracted everybody from the business call I was on, but it was entertaining.
So what was the highlight of that? What's the best green screen?
I don't know. I mean, I've got my room here. Basically, I put one of space on, and then I was slowly able to push my chair backwards across the room. It looked like I was falling through space. That one entertained me the most. But.
Okay, sort of like in a galaxy far, far away.
Exactly.
Let's just see what have we got going on. I've got to start getting up earlier these days. It's just finding. There's lots to look at. Well, there's just lots to look at, before the market open. Interesting.
Gordon, you're asking a good question on YouTube, and it's interesting. He says he's a member of another community. I guess that's okay. We'll let that slide. Anyways, but where moderators would pick the same stocks over and over, regardless of news catalysts. Would you state that BBT is more flexible in building a watch list? So, as was stated there in the feed, you can actually look at our pre-market show and you can watch the things we pick. But for the most part, our list is absolutely based on what's trending that day, what the news is creating as a catalyst that day. Now, you may get things that are moving that day, meaning above average volume, good pre-market activity that are our standards. We have a bunch that we would follow as standard lists as well. But for the most part, our watch list is made up of the stuff that was moving in day. In fact, after the close here today, I'll go back over some of the main ones of our watch list and I'll sort of tell you how they performed today. So you get a feel for the stuff that we were watching if you didn't have a chance to look at the pre-market show. But and I would say for us, every moderator is slightly different. Thor went on a run where he was only trading CCL every day because he just kept making money at it. But, these days I would say there's stuff that we keep coming back to because they've got good price action, right? Off the top of my head, CCL, AAL, Delta Airlines, DAL, Brian likes SQ and JD. Roku is one that keeps coming back. Boeing, Tesla, Zoom these days, ZM. I come back to Microsoft
Yeah,
regularly. Work.
and we were just going through some of the ones that have been good in the last little while. Some they're showing up green on red days. Roku's been one that's been on a bit of a tear. AMD has been on a bit of a tear. As Peter mentioned Zoom, Tesla, Space had a good day today. Netflix, obviously. Yeah, so you can keep coming back to those. You can keep coming back to the stocks that are strong, performing well in a weak market, and you can also look at what's in play. Typically earnings reports, news. We were talking about Six Flags just a minute ago. They just news out on them. They've raised some kind of a bond or something, so they'll live to. It's just it's not right or wrong. It's a choice. It's just a style or choice, and it can be a combination of.
Agreed. Mike, they're saying you look like an airline pilot. I think that's a good thing. Presumably because of your headset.
You like? Yeah, maybe a little bit.
He looks more like a gamer.
Oh yeah, probably because the headphones. So gamer. You know what I found is I went to try to buy a webcam for the other computer, and it is back ordered everywhere unless you want to pay 3 times the price.
Equipment, computer supplies, I'm finding really hard to get. I've got a new PC coming, and I had to get some cables. And actually, here, I finally found some cables that I could use, but I had to go to like a local business supplier. So if you're looking for stuff, rather than going to your typical retail, Mike, try and find a local small business supplier. There's a company here called the Trailing Edge that they tend to supply equipment for small to mid-sized businesses, and their business is down right now because so many of the businesses are sort of not in active production, whereas all the retail stuff, right, seems to be all bought out. So.
Yeah. I just don't think they're shipping it. I think that's the problem.
Well, that's when I asked them. I said, "Hey, you're the only guys in town that have these cables I was looking for," and he said, "You're in luck. We just happened to have gotten a shipment right before everything shut down. That's the only reason we really have them." So I said, "Well, that's great." But,
wow.
So yeah, I found those yesterday and picked. It was a funny exchange because they, I don't know how they're doing it there, but here they only do curbside pickup now, so you can't go into stores. They lock you out. You basically have to knock, then step back like 6 feet. They will open the door. You give your name and your order number. Then you walk around to the loading dock, and they will take the stuff. And literally, it was like, basically, I don't know. It felt like a drug exchange, right? Because this loading dock is set for trucks, so. The bed of the loading dock is like 5 feet high, and it's a way they keep separation. So basically, they rolled it out on a pallet and put it at the edge of the dock. And I went over and picked it up. I mean, we're talking about like I had 3 cables that look like this. Like it's not like you needed a pallet, but that was a way for them to make sure they were always far away from me. Like they pushed the pallet out on the pallet mover, and then I walk over and pick it up, and then I step back and they shut the door, and I'm like, this is just surreal. Like it's it's just weird.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny. So they didn't have the little sliding door where all you could see is the guy's eyes.
No, they didn't have that little
a little sliding door by your feet where they could slide the tray out.
They just push it out the bottom. And
yeah.
I'm waiting for them to like.
We're getting.
It'll be. I went to get some food at a shawarma place because we try and support local business at least once a week to eat out, and they had put a 6-foot barrier between you and the cash. So they basically set up a bunch of their tables, normally for their eat-in part of the restaurant, in front of the cash. So basically they ask you to, and they had this super long cord on the debit credit machine. So you go and you do that. While you're doing that, they lean way over and put the food on the table and use like those pizza those pizza oven wooden pallet, and they use it to push it across the
Yep.
table to a point in which you could reach it, and then that would pick up the food. And I'm like, this is all just odd. Like, I mean, I appreciate the fact that they're doing social isolation. They're keeping, we're 6 feet away, and while trying to keep the business running, like all that's good. It's just, it's weird to do it.
It is. It is a little weird.
Yeah.
Regardless.
I'm taking a peek at your Citibank trade. You got to be still happy with that. It's still sitting down here at the bottom for you, Mike.
Yes.
See if it can put a new low of the day in. It
Now
hasn't
ready to
quite.
get out.
Oh, did it? Did it put a new low of the day? Not quite. Penny away.
No, almost.
Penny.
Almost.
Yeah.
I'm just noticing Square is strong into the close here,
Square.
even though it is still red on the day. Seems to be getting some buying interest.
I tried a little long on Square earlier in another instance of getting chopped out, but I liked the look. Another moving average cross, double bottom reversal, moving average cross coming in, but then it pulled back too much and stopped me out, so which is too bad. Got my shirt. Speaking of which, if anybody's in a position, it's always a good idea, especially these days. We've got a lot of charities that need your help. Supporting one of my favorite charities right here. Schoolbox. Charity I work with. Build schools for children in
Nice.
Nicaragua. We have obviously had to shut down all operations because of what's happening here, but a lot of charities. It's funny because all the charities I work with, they're either having to shut down operations because they can't operate in this environment, or they're just overworked. I work with a lot of mental health charities, and like some of the helplines that I work with, they're just overwhelmed. You can imagine the calls are going through the roof. The relative stress in the environment is pretty high. So look at Square shooting up here.
Yeah, I know. I took in a bit of a long here.
Oh, wow. You're trading into the close. Look at you.
Yeah, I think it's just it's been strong for the last hour almost. It's just had some people are coming in. Obviously, someone's and the volume's been pretty decent too on it too.
I see that
So
volume.
I think there's
picked up.
There's somebody accumulating some shares here.
Work? What is going on with work, Manny? Oh, wow. Yeah, work just shot up. Interesting. I wonder if Thor was still holding some of that. He got in around 2650, if I recall. He might have survived that. I think he added along the way, though. Sorry, Brian, I missed that.
I thought he was in around 70, but maybe I'm thinking of a different trade.
It might have been. I can't remember now. Either way, he'd be probably out.
Well, we got 1 minute into the close here, where Roku's finishing strong. Square is finishing pretty strong here. We had a nice move into the close. Bank of America's popping back up. Obviously, maybe some short covering, possibly. All right. Well, guys, I'm going to drop off here. I got to go get my mask. I hope everyone had a good day. And we'll see what the market brings us tomorrow. Up day, down day. Just roll the dice. Who knows?
Yes, indeed. You never know these days, do we?
All right. See you, Mike. Have a good one.
There it is.
Peter.
The bell. Thanks, Brian.
Everyone out. Dutch, got your email. Responded to that. Thank you. And we'll see you all tomorrow.
Thanks, Brian. Well, there was the closing bell. I'm always curious whether you guys hear that on YouTube. It's funny. There's let me check here. Hold on a sec. There's always a delay in the feed.
See you, Mike. Have a
Yeah, you can hear it on YouTube. So there you go. What a weird day for me, anyways. Not the way I hoped this day would go.
Yes, me either.
Work popping into the close. All right, so really what I am looking for after the close here, the only thing I think that I'd like to see what happens is Bed Bath & Beyond, BBBY. Lakeland Industries doesn't announce till a little bit later, 450, so we won't be around for that. But I'm not something, their revenue is very small. I wouldn't be expecting much there. Bed Bath & Beyond, I'm expecting a tale of woe. So I can't imagine anything good coming out of it. But let's see how they closed. What are they looking like? They actually, look at this, they actually shot up into the close. I mean, shot up is a relative term. It's a 12-cent move, but for a stock that only moved 60 cents all day, we'll see what happens. We will see what happens. All right. Let's put BBBY here. That way it'll just stick behind, and if anything happens with it. Why don't we take the opportunity here maybe to... Actually, I'll answer the question verbally, too, that I answered. Jason was asking if I go to Nicaragua to visit frequently. I've been twice to build schools. It's sort of the new voluntourism thing, right? It helps the charity. It gives you a chance to get into the community, and the people in the community really appreciate it and love it. And you get to sort of build the school and sort of live with them for a week. It's a fantastic experience. I went with my daughter when she was 15, my youngest, and it was life-changing for her, and first time she'd ever done anything sort of like that, and it was a great experience. So highly recommend it if you ever have the opportunity where you're supporting a local community and a charity. Better than your standard vacation, in my opinion, in many ways. So
Vacation going out. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So let's take a look at some of the stuff that was on my list here this morning. Put my list over here. On the airline front, there was some announcement of a little more confirmation of the Fed support that we were expecting for all of the airlines. And let me just, I'll pull the whole day chart up here, and I'll do a 2-minute chart. So JetBlue I was watching just to see what would happen, but look at this. I mean, it was sort of limping into the open. It was above yesterday's close, but it sort of lost all of that over the course of the open. And if I look at the rest of the airlines, it was interesting how they sort of followed a similar path. So I think largely this is one of the buy the rumor, sell the news thing, right? Everybody knew that the support was going to be forthcoming, just not exactly how much or how they would access it. So now that they've announced it in sort of interest-free loans and different ways in which they can take advantage of it, I think that really we were just seeing the airlines sell off at that as it was sort of just confirming what they already knew. The banks, obviously, this is day 2 of most of the banks announcing. Yesterday we had a couple. I think yesterday it was Wells Fargo, JP Morgan that were announcing. Today it was Bank of America, Citigroup, Goldman Sachs, and then some of the smaller ones, Schwab, PNC, USB, and Progressive are all the ones that I had on my list. But bottom line, what I was seeing out of them, hold on, is a lot of chop, at least at the open. I tried to trade Bank of America. I thought it'd be the one that might move smoothest. I was actually, look at this drop into the open. I thought with that, we might get a bounce, what we call sort of a rising devil. So the devil is when it's falling, it rises, and then drops right back down. I was looking for that rise, but really what happened here over the opening couple of minutes is it didn't pull up very far, and then it just held there for a while, and that made me nervous. So Brian actually took a short trade on it that didn't work. I actually didn't trade then. I was looking for the drop here, and I took it short and got stopped out. I tried again and got stopped out. So I thought, okay, well, maybe it wants to go long. I got stopped out. I just kept... Anyways, I was really trading in this chop here, and I just let myself get chopped up, which was not smart. So lost a bunch of money on Bank of America at the open. Some of the others traded a little bit better. Just they made bigger moves. Citigroup, I found a tough trade. I was watching it, but these candles were big compared to the relative motion. I found it tough to trade. However, Mike, you found your setup, didn't you? So maybe you can tell me what you saw towards the close that made you take it in Well, live, even though you thought you were taking it in sim.
So on Citigroup, if you notice right there about 1500, you got that support level. I think that's see your dash line right above
Yeah.
43.49.
That would be a
Uh,
low, a previous
Not
day's
sure. I
low.
think that, yeah, it's a previous day of some sort. I have that same thing on my chart.
Yeah.
Saw the moving averages cross over kind of that miniature head and shoulders pattern. So I took it right there at that basically 43.49,
Hmm.
and then let it ride its way down, set my stop that candle above where that cross happened for the stop,
Right.
and then just rode it all the way down.
It's interesting. Yeah, it's not a bad trade. I mean, we talk. One of the things we've been talking about more recently is my lightning bolt pattern. It's just what I call sort of a VWAP break. This one wouldn't have qualified, but you can sort of see in it because I said the key thing for me is I try never to take anything the first time it tries to break through VWAP because so often it bounces. And what I see here is back at 254 on this. Tried, failed, moved up, and then that failed. So Mike took a good trade at when it sort of this time it looked like it was going to break through. That second time was sort of the right short, and look at that, it never looked back, right? So you're never at risk on this trade at all from time of entry. So well done. Looking at some of the other banks, then Goldman Sachs, again, a lot of chop at the open, ended up moving up a little bit. Now, they had better news than the rest where they actually beat their numbers, whereas some of the others had mixed earnings. So that was, anyways, that was good for Goldman Sachs. And I won't go through the rest. The rest of the financial institutions, nothing big to trade. UNH was on our list. It was one of the things that we had talked about because they also had earnings. They beat their estimates and held their guidance, which is unusual. Everybody's pretty much pulling back on their guidance. UNH is United Health, and they obviously had confidence enough in their numbers to say they were going to hold their guidance. I was expecting this to jump up. I got surprised at what I saw at the open because if you look at now, this doesn't trade well pre-market, so I know that. But if you look what happened, it sort of dropped down a bit, came up, and then it was sort of like really uncertain. It seemed to me around VWAP here. You can see in this pattern. So if I sort of zoom back out to a broader look at the day, it got choppy, and I said, oh, I don't think I can trade this. And then this big drop down convinced me, well, I don't really understand the price action in UNH. I stopped watching it. From that point, though, hit a low and then just sort of moved right back up. It came back pretty much to yesterday's close, and more or less bounced right off of it, and then sort of been up ever since. So could have been a good trade. Maybe I should have had more patience on it, but I failed to continue to watch it. So my bad, my loss. What else? Space is one that came up. Or sorry, I keep calling it that. It's really SPCE, which is Virgin Galactic. And Virgin Galactic, a couple of people are watching in the room. No particular catalyst on it. I didn't see any news. It was one of those ones that people tend to keep an eye on. There were some technical trade opportunities, but it looks fairly choppy to me. I sort of like how it's following this moving average up as of about noon. So there was a potential long in it, but I never sort of got into it myself. Tesla is another one that we kept an eye on. It's just had such a run over the last couple of days that it was worth seeing what was going to happen. Put in a fairly choppy day. Again, look at how it bounced right off of previous close before coming back up. This, to me, though, was the good entry. If you look here, I saw this, but a little too late. Sort of almost did my lightning bolt. The problem is it pulled back too far, right? First break of VWAP, notice it comes back up above and then breaks through. And if you'd taken the entry right here with your stop at the top of this candle, right, that's my recommendation for the pattern. It didn't meet my criteria because the pullback was more than 50% of the size of the drop, which was really just this one candle. However, even if you'd put a stop at the sort of open of this candle, you would have been good, and you would have been able to ride this down for a decent move on Tesla. Because look what happened to it. So you could have got this move here, and then you could have played it again. You could have just stayed in it all day. So that was the play right here, and then the break. So anyways, opportunity on Tesla. Last but not least, Boeing. Boeing is weird as always. Not I never know what to expect on Boeing because it's just it seems to have resilience no matter what's going on. I was surprised to see it weak here into the open, but if I compare it to the SPY, I think at the open, yeah, I was pretty much generally following the SPY, even less choppy. See how the SPY is jumping up and down? This was just more of a smooth bowl. Potentially right here, there was this moving average cross, and some people in our room were watching it and said, I think they took an entry, and I envy them that because they would have been able to hold on to this for a good $10, $11 move. So Boeing turned out to be a good trade through the afternoon. So a good opportunity there. That's, I think, the majority of what we were watching this morning. I mean, there's some of the usuals that we were taking a look at. Oh, Nagraj, you took BA. Good for you.
Yeah.
So someone else got that. Somebody's saying that maybe Lake released their numbers early. Let me see here. I don't... Lake... I don't see it yet. Oh no, actually I do see it. Look at that. Wow, somebody released early. It seemed to be all the de rigueur to release late, but it looks like, yeah, they are out early. So they beat their earnings per share by 1 penny, delivering 15 cents versus a 14-cent estimate. And it looks like their sales were up by a good value, $2 million almost, 1.9 million over 26.3 million. So that would give us about a 6-7% beat on their earnings. So that's good. I don't know what does Lakeland Industries actually make. Anybody know? Anyways, whatever it is, apparently so far their business hasn't suffered. At least not at the end of that quarter. Now it could be that it's just all of that is being pushed into the next quarter. The big one I'm looking for, of course, like I said, is BBBY. And they have not come out yet. Consensus on BBBY is 3.09 billion in revenue, 28 cents on earnings. So we'll see how the actual numbers compare to that. Somewhere my phone is beeping at me. All right. I was going to say there's some of the old regulars. Mike, what else did you trade today other than C? Were you anything else you worth?
I traded JD and I tried to trade BAC, but I couldn't get any entries on it in the morning. So I got stopped out on JD before in the afternoon.
Yeah, JD is one of the ones that you like to trade quite regularly, don't you?
Yeah.
There was, I can see right here around 11:30, I put in a pattern I like, which is again my double top followed by the moving average cross. Would have been came down, almost came back to that entry. That would have been a little nerve-wracking, but if you'd held, yeah, you could have got a good move out of it.
So I actually didn't trade it until I think almost 2:30, 3 o'clock almost. I was trying to get a bounce back to VWAP. It had a moving average cross as the SPY started to turn back up. Yeah.
All right, around here.
Yeah. And then it just never quite.
Yeah.
Because I took it at 45.08. Yeah, right at that 45.08. And it just went immediately against me. I had that level on my my chart as well. And as it crossed over there about 245, I was looking to get up to VWAP off of it. Because it had been holding 44.90 very well. Every time it would go down, it would pop back up and pop back up.
See it right here, yeah. I see. So you're taking it.
And the SPY was on the break, and SPY was actually moving up, so I figured it would carry it with it, but it reversed.
See that? If I put them right below each other, yeah, you can see the SPY was heading up at the time, which looked supportive of this move, but then look at the SPY dump and JD just came with it. So yeah, that's a tough break. I was looking at this though. This actually gave two. Look at this, guys. There's two of what I call my
yeah,
lightning
the
bolt
morning.
patterns here, where you can see again through VWAP, pulled back, came back up. So that's a little shallow, but it's still it's a decent pattern. And you'd have the additional support if you had the yesterday's close that it bounced off of underneath the VWAP. So again, take it at this candle, the bottom of this candle is where you take it, right? First open candle above the VWAP. Stop would have been, well, normally it's the low of this candle. I probably would have moved it down a few cents to the bottom of sort of just below the previous close, so that's 43.85 with an entry of 43.9. So it's like a 10-cent risk. You could have taken a 10-cent risk on this entry, and look what you would have got. So from 43.95 to 46. I mean, gee whiz, right? So
Yeah.
let's call that $2 off of a 10-cent risk. That's like a 40 to 1. So
Yeah.
that would have been.
I was looking at that. I just got there just a tad bit too late, about 5 minutes too
I
late.
wish I'd seen it.
Because you'll notice the moving averages are crossing at that point too.
Yep. And that often happens. I don't pay attention to the moving averages in my pattern, but it often happens where they cross here. So I'm seeing when it came back through VWAP, again, you see the same pattern, right? Bounce off of VWAP, pulls up, back down through. Yep. This one, your entry would have been a little tougher because this candle sort of crosses. So if, again, my normal pattern is enter here at the start of the first full candle below, which would have been, let's call it 45.25. Your stop would have been up here at 45.35. So again, 10-cent risk. In this case, well, I mean, it still would have worked out. It just would have been a little more nerve-wracking through this period here. But, I mean, again, this is why never take it on the first bounce, but on the second one, look how often this works. So both times, basically the only times it crossed VWAP after the open, it put in the exact pattern I would have been looking for. Unfortunately, I was not watching JD. Mike, you got to tell me. Put the blame on you. Make it someone else's fault.
JD's one of those stocks. It's either it will come alive and it gets great clean moves, or it just chops all day long.
Or it doesn't do anything, eh?
So, yeah.
Well, oops. Gotta get the right number of B's here. BBBY. BBBY seems to be moving now. So, comparable sales. So BBBY, finally, their numbers are out. Their earnings beat, and their sales were up. So I don't know when their quarter exactly ended, but I got to believe that's then that must be from before the whole shutdown, because I was expecting, again, a doom and gloom story. The fact that their numbers are up is interesting. This may be a good trade for tomorrow then. And it says that they're not providing guidance at this time. So it's interesting that they also put out information they wouldn't normally, which is that they're saying that they ended FY19 with $1.4 billion in cash and investments. Now, how much of that is cash and how much is investments? For instance, real estate, because they might have $1.4 billion in investments, but if some of those are the stores in which they're operating, that doesn't do you a lot of good because they can't exactly liquidate that very quickly. So, not without affecting future earnings anyways, right? Because the stores they own are probably their best locations, assuming they own any. I don't really know their model. However, yeah, I think for sure I'm going to put this on my list to watch tomorrow, and we'll see what happens. Something that we were talking about in the room, Mike, that I wanted to ask, because you are not an open trader generally. You sometimes watch the open, but you don't really trade anything at the open, do you?
No, I don't. I watch it just kind of to see how the market's going, and then I take off the headset and I go make breakfast, and I come back about 7:10ish, so about 30-40 minutes after the market opened.
Right. That's not a bad idea. I was mentioning it because Thor was saying that who's really sort of become an excellent trader and very consistent, but he's saying his consistency at the open is probably about 50-50, whereas after 10 o'clock, he's up like over 90%. And he's saying that he's looking to pull back from the open and not trade. And I've been noticing the same thing in this market. My open trades are working less frequently. And, all the stuff I just showed you in terms of the trades, I find that the open is actually distracting me from watching the bigger setups because I get caught in these micro movements instead of stepping back and saying, all right, so what trend is developing, if any? so that once it pulls out of the chop of the open, I can take the trade. And hey, if it runs against me, then so be it, right? Then that's not my trade. I either wait for a reversal to set up or another entry opportunity. So I'm really thinking of stopping my open trading as well, and meaning that I wouldn't trade at least the first 20 or 30 minutes. So,
Yeah. And I kind of grew that from when I first went live. I really, because I could only trade the first hour, really.
Right.
So I was always focusing on orbs when I first started trading. And I noticed when I was focusing on 5-minute orbs, I was always chasing. I was late on the entry. I was always getting in when I should have been getting out. So I made it probably after the first month. After reviewing my trades, I just said, hey, I'm not going to trade the first 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And I went to 15-minute orbs to gain consistency. And it really helped me with the FOMO, because when you look and you see setups and you force yourself not to trade, it then becomes a part of you that you're like, oh, okay, there'll be another opportunity. I know, because for 2 months I traded 15-minute orbs,
Right.
and I always got an opportunity. So.
Right, exactly. So, yeah, I think it's a good. So I'm going to try it Thursday, Friday, certainly. So tomorrow and Friday, we'll see what happens. But I'm thinking that might help, because pretty much, all my bad trades, that chop on Boeing, on Bank of America, I would have been out of that, and probably mentally in a better position to take some of these trades that I'm now seeing that I missed over the course of the day if I hadn't been in that chop. So I'm going to take that tact and see what happens. I see Hans.
And one thing
Hans is saying that he has the same experience.
Because, go ahead.
Sorry, Mike.
Yeah, one thing I noticed, because about the last 2 weeks, that's when I've been walking away and actually not even watching the open. When I come back, you get a very clear perspective of where the market is by looking at the 5-minute SPY chart. Like today, when I came back at 7, and you could just look at it instantaneously, I knew it was choppy all day, or not all day, but all morning. So then I just started looking, and that's what kept me out of BAC this morning.
Right.
Is because I knew that there was chop. So I was really focusing on making sure that the trend of the SPY had picked a direction.
Yeah. Well, I wish I was as smart as you. So, I had some good trades, decent trades later, a couple of stop outs on AMD, but not a great day overall. So, I love what Hiltzy was making the analogy here about same thing as walking into a bar. that was good. You don't just walk into a bar and look for a girl to talk to. You gotta get a drink, look around, check out the action, see what's happening. Then you make your move. It's awesome.
Yeah,
it's pretty much the same process.
That's one way to look at it.
Yeah, well, he's got a good point. It's just in trading, the advantage is you don't have to come up with a one-liner. So
yeah, and I think just my stats at the open are just they're not very good. So I've come to the conclusion that I will not be an open trader. So I've just stopped trying. I'll let Andrew and all the other great traders we have in the room take all their money and make it all, and then I'll come in and get what's left over.
I like Jennifer says she just always pulls up a stool and waits to see what comes her way. But I've tried that. Usually is just the bartender looking to sell me another drink. That's all I get all night. So, and even that in the wrong bar, they won't even serve me. They like haired people who tend to be younger. So it's funny.
Some bars are like that.
Some bars are like, my wife and I always tell the story. We went to Vegas once, and we ended up at some trendy bar I think we were at the Bellagio, and it was some like bar owned by a famous I don't know, it was Elton John or somebody's bar. Anyways, I don't know who it was. And we walked in and grabbed a table, and it was early, and we sat, and we couldn't get service for the life of us. And young couples dressed for the evening would walk in. Because we were going out to dinner afterwards, would walk in and in groups, and they were all getting served, not a problem. Us old folks, they wouldn't serve at all. And I'm thinking, who probably has more money in this scenario? So, but they wouldn't serve me. So I got it and I said, fine, you don't want my money? Screw it. I got up and left, and we went to another bar, and I purposely spent a ton of money, even though nobody would know, just to say, screw you, this is all that you lost out on. So, you want to be that way? Be that way. I'll spend my money elsewhere. Anyways.
So, Vegas is a very interesting place. I've had plenty of fun times, me and my wife there.
Yeah. I love Vegas, but D miles flattery will get you everywhere, eh? Yeah, it's funny because the first time we went to Vegas, we're like, this is not for us. We don't gamble. It's not going to be our thing. And we just loved it, right? The food is fantastic. There's tons of stuff. If you just want to sit around and people watch. We spent an entire afternoon at the bar, the lobby bar. This was at the Bellagio, I know for sure. And we just watched people. And it was hilarious. Like, you saw everything from the couples that obviously just met or on some like risque, hideaway here in Vegas, to the newlyweds, to the people fighting, to the kids running around. Like, it was just, there was everything. It was awesome. It was just cornucopia of humanity. Shame we can't do that these days, but eventually we'll get back to it. Anyways, guys, with that,
it may not be as crowded now.
Thank you so much. We sort of digressed significantly off of trading. However, it's always good to have a conversation. Well, last Thursday, we had a great conversation with all the traders in our room, because not only do we trade, but we did a social. Being that we're all socially isolated, we said, let's do like a social hour. So in our trade room, we had a couple hundred of our members that joined us, and that were, we all the moderators, we got on sort of a group video, and we're sort of just literally drink in hand, just having a conversation. Nothing in particular. Weren't particularly talking trading. If it came up, we addressed it. Most of the talk was just random stuff that a group of friends would talk about. It was great. It was a lot of fun. So we did that Thursday since it was a long weekend.
That was fun.
Yeah, it was good. And I wasn't sure what to expect going into it, but it was great. We probably spent, like 2 hours, right? So a couple hours just doing that.
2 hours.
People stuck around, and we're having fun and great conversations. So it's nice to know that we got a chat room that not only do we trade together, but we actually like each other, and we'll have a good conversation and can socialize. So it's a lot of fun. So anyways, with that, take care, everybody, on this Wednesday night, and we'll see you back for the again, the close show at 3:30 tomorrow. If you wanted to join us to see how we create the list that I was just talking about and identify the stocks, Carlos and Norm do that in the morning, starting at 8:30, and then we start live trading right at the bell at 9:30. So, thanks so much for joining us, Mike. Thanks as always.
Yep.
And,
absolutely. Looking forward to tomorrow. Let's see if I can get a decent day out of tomorrow.
I hope so too. All right.
Or pick up the whiskey bottle a day early. One of the two things is going to happen tomorrow.
I always think whiskey is a good addition. You may want to meter that while you're still actively trading, but that's all up to you.
Oh no, that's afterwards.
Oh, okay. There you go. All right.
That's when I hit the stop loss again. That's when the bottle comes out.
Yeah. One last thing that I will say, thank you for the reminder, and I'll pull back up to our announcements up above. We do have our success webinar tonight with Brian Shannon. You should be able to see that on the screen. So to all our members, you're able to join that. That is that being live streamed on YouTube? Sometimes we do, sometimes we don't. I actually don't know in this case. My apologies, but
I'm not sure about this one.
Okay. But I think Carlos is leading this one. Brian Shannon is a great speaker and a great presenter, so that is well worth attending. It should be a great session. So that's at 8 o'clock. It always happens in our webinar room, so that'll be happening in our webinar room for all of our lifetime members for sure. I don't know if it's going to be live streamed on YouTube. If it is, check our channel, and it will be there, and you'll be able to see it there. If not, well then you can check it out on a recording if you're not able to make it live and you're a BBT lifetime member. So take care, guys, and I will talk to you tomorrow.
All right. Everybody have a great evening.
Bye bye.